Chapter 10. During our 7th night on the island, it rained. It was one of those tropical storms that comes up swiftly without any warning. We were asleep on the palm mats that I'd made, but it would awakened us immediately. The rain sounded like bullets hitting the dried palm fronds on the roof. We ran out into it shouting and letting the fresh water hit our bodies. It was cool and it felt so good. Timothy yelled that his catchment was working and he had taken more boards from the top of the raft and had made a large trough that would catch the rain. He picked up the bamboo lengths on the beach and had them fitted together into a short pipe to funnel the rain water right into the gallon keg. It rained for almost 2 hours, and Timothy was quite angry with himself for not making a second catchment, because the keg was soon filled and overflowing. So we stayed out in the cool rain for 20 or 30 minutes and then went back inside. The roof leaked badly, but we didn't mind. We got our mats, opened our mouths, and let the sweet fresh water, and Stu Cat was huddled in a miserable ball in the corner. Timothy said, not enjoying this at all. I liked the rain because it was something I could hear and I could feel it, not something I must see. It peppered and burst against the frond roof, and I could hear the drips and the leak of it leaking through. The squall of the wind was in the tops of the palms, and I could imagine how they looked in the night sky, thrashing against each other high over their little cay. I wanted it to rain all night. We talked for a long time about the rain and began to slack off. Timothy asked me about my mother and my father, and I told him about them and how we lived in Shilaro, getting very lonesome and homesick while I was telling him. He kept saying, that be true. When Timothy told me that he told me what he could remember of his childhood, it wasn't at all like mine. He'd never gone to school, and he was working on a fishing boat by the time he was 10 years old. It almost seemed the only fun that he ever had was once a year at the carnival, when he'd put on frangipani leaves around his ankles and dress up like the donkey and hide in a parade around with the monkey zombies and the spirits chasers, while the old ladies of Charlotte of Amelie danced in their bambola around them. He chuckled, I drink plenty of rum in those days at the carnival. I could picture him on his donkey skin, wheeling around to the music of the steel bands. They had them in Willemstad, too. Because it had been on my mind, I told him that my mother didn't like black people. And I asked him why. He answered slowly, I don't know. I don't like some white people my own self, but would be outrageous if I didn't like any of them. Wanting to hear from Timothy, I asked him why there were different colors, skinned, white and black, brown, red, and he laughed back. Why be the fish different colors, or the flower different color? I true do not know, Philippe. But I true think beneath the skin, we are the same. Herr Jonquier had said something exactly like that in school, but it did not seem to mean it quite as much as when Timothy said it. Longer after he began to snore the dripping hut, I thought about suddenly, I wish my mother were here to see us together on this little island. I moved closer to Timothy, his big body, before I went to sleep. Remember, and smiling in the darkness, he felt neither white nor black. In the morning, the air was crisp and the quay smelled fresh and clean. Timothy cooked a small fish of pompano, and he speared at dawn down at the reef. Neither of us had felt so good and so clean since we'd been aboard the Hato. And without discussing it, we both thought we might be seeing an aircraft that might swing by into Devil's Mouth, if that's where we were. The pompano broiled over the low fire tasted so good. Of course, we were eating a little but that came from the sea. Fish, langasta, mussels, or eggs from the sea urchins, those small black round sea animals with the sharp spines that attached themselves to the reeds. Timothy had tried to make a stew from the seaweed, but it tasted bitter. And then he tried to boil some sea grape roots, but they made us ill. The only thing that ever worked for him was to take sea grape leaves, boil them first in seawater, and then cook them in fresh water. But above us, 40 feet from the ground, Timothy said there was a feast. Big, fat, green coconuts. When we landed, they were the few dried ones on the ground, but the meat in them was not very tasty. In a fresher one, there would still be some milk, but it was rancid. At least once a day, especially when we were around the hut, Timothy would say, "Oh, 'tis outrageous, those coconuts hanging in the sky, when we could be using the milk and the meat." Or he'd say, "Timothy, my own self long ago climb up that palm tree very easy." Or hinting that, I guess, looking up at them, "Philippe, I do believe you be getting outrageously strong on this dear island." He made a point of saying that he was only 50 again, he could climb that tree, slice them down with a knife. But at 70 odd, he didn't think he could make it up to the top. That morning over breakfast, Timothy asked, looking over the tops of the palms, "I'm sure a little milk from the coconut would be good right now, eh, Philippe?" And yet, I didn't have the courage to climb the palms. "Yes, it would," I said. Timothy cleared his throat slightly deep and put coconuts out of his mind, but I knew he'd try again. He said, "Them dabbling coconuts aside, your mother would never be knowing you right now." And I asked why. "You are very brown, very lean," he said. I tried to imagine how I looked. I knew my shirt and pants were in tatters. My hair felt ropey. There was no way to comb it. I wondered how my eyes looked, and I asked Timothy. "They look without cease," he said. "They stare, Philippe, you stare." "Do they bother you?" Timothy laughed. "Oh, not me. Every day I think, what good luck I have, that you be on his very own self to have this outrageous humbug island." I thought for a while, and then asked him, "How long was it before that friend of yours from Barbados could see again?" Timothy replied vaguely, "Oh, many months, I do recall." "You told me on the aircraft, or on the raft, it was only 3 days." "Oh, did I say that?" "Yes." "Oh, well," Timothy said, "'twas a long time ago." "But he did get his very sight back, to be true." He paused a moment and then said, "Now I tell you, we got much walk to do today." I noticed more and more Timothy always changed the subject when I began to talk about my eyes. He would make up some kind of excuse. "What work?" I asked. "Oh, now let me see," he said. "For one thing, we mustn't make another catchment, and we must go down to the reef and get some food, and—" I waited, and Timothy exploded. "Well, now there's a lot of work, Philippe, to be true."